Hey everyone, it's Andrew McCarthy, the Urban Bayman, sitting in St. John's, Newfoundland, and I've had some interesting thoughts of late. I often remind you, when you're looking for perspective, always come to Newfoundland. Lately, I've been having a really difficult time understanding the amount of criticism that has been heaped on the men like Musk and Bezos and even Richard Branson for their race to get to space, right? And as luck would have it, I found this book in my parents' library, right in Newfoundland, looking right out through the narrows behind me. In 1919, this is where Alcock and Brown attempted and successfully made the very first transatlantic flight in 1919. Right? Can you imagine that in 19? The Wright brothers first flew for the very first time in 1904. And within 15 years, Alcock and Brown managed to cross the Atlantic Ocean, right? 1,880 miles, something like that, to cross over the Atlantic. Now, the reason we were able to make such tremendous advancements in aviation between 1904 and 1919, think about this, this is the dawn, right? The very dawn of flight, right? And we were able to cross the Atlantic in only 15 years, right? 50 years after that, in 1969, we put a man on the moon, right? How was this possible? Well, when you read this book, you'll come to understand. It took me a long time to figure it out. You know, where was the bravado? Where was the incentive to cross the Atlantic Ocean in 1919 when, we were dealing with equipment that was, marginally considered reliable? Right? And the fact is, look, as these advancements came from the First World War. Right? When we were all pitted against each other, Germany versus England and Russia. Right? A family feud, by the way. The Tsar, the King, and the Kaiser were cousins. Right? And we were engaged in such a horrific war that, there was an incentive to make things happen, to get the upper hand. Right? It's unfortunate that sometimes it's war that provides these incentives, that provides the advantage and the need to advance flight from 1904 to 1919, crossing the Atlantic. Guys, when I see, and before I go there, what you have to remember is that in 1919, when Alcock and Brown flew across the Atlantic Ocean, let's not kid ourselves, there were three arguably attempts ahead of this, right? There was Reinhardt, who crashed in the middle of the ocean. Every one of these groups, right? The Sallies, the U.S. Every one of these groups, when they made it across the Atlantic, they were heralded, right? There was an element of adulation. Alcock and Brown said that their feet never touched the ground for almost 2 weeks after they landed in Clifton in Ireland. They were carried everywhere on the shoulders of crowds of people. There was so much. We celebrated our accomplishments in those days. Today, guys, when it comes to our space travel, right, imagine, right, the criticism that these men have been subjected to. Right, I heard one, they said, how many mouths could your budget have fed, right, in poor countries? And I'm thinking at it, and I look at it, again, with a little different perspective coming from a place like Newfoundland, right? Because in Newfoundland, we recognize that there were a lot of mouths that were fed by that space program. Think about all the engineers. Right, think about the designers. Think about everybody, right, from the janitor on through, right, the truck drivers, everybody that was associated with that space program, and how much money, right, was shared amongst all those who participated in putting Branson, Musk, and Bezos into space. Right? It's not a matter of giving away. It's a matter of where we go with this. And let's not kid ourselves, guys. Space exploration, unless you want to have another war, right? The greatest incentive right now that we have for technological advancement is likely to be found in space. Right? You keep talking about a greener world. We keep talking about climate change. Right? We keep talking about battery technology. Where do you think that's going to be developed? right? Who has the incentive to create batteries? I don't think a combustion engine is going to work on Mars, let alone on the moon, right? It's going to be these space programs that help us develop the batteries, that help us change our world so that, yes, we are using less hydrocarbons ourselves, right? Until we start to recognize this, until we start to look at a place like Newfoundland, but until we start to recognize what it is we should really be holding dear, right, then, guys, we're headed into an awfully dark space. So to Musk and to Branson and to Bezos, guys, hats off. Imagine, right? I mean, it's one thing to have those types of aspirations. It's another thing to have the money, the business acumen, the ability to make these things happen, right? But then it's another thing to have the confidence, just as Alcock and Brown, Bezos, Branson, and Musk, to sit in the cockpit, guys, right? They didn't send a monkey into space. They didn't hire somebody to test this equipment out. They were the first ones to sit in it. They had such incredible faith in those engineers, in those designers, in every single person that was involved in this space program and all the advancements that it's going to make. These guys had such confidence, they sat in the cockpit, man. Right? This is something to be cherished. This is something to be celebrated. This is a time to herald these events and the opportunities that it will create for us and our future. Guys, I hope you are enjoying these videos. I hope you subscribe to our channel. I hope you're sharing these. I hope they're leaving you with a good message and maybe an opportunity to change your thought process and how you look at what's happening in our world today. I'm Andrew McCarthy. I'm the Urban Bayman. Thank you, guys.